Hey guys, it is Melissa and welcome back to my channel. I want to apologize for those of you that have been so wonderful and so loyal that have been following me. I did not upload for the last several days. I had a cold and honestly, I just didn't have a good brain. I couldn't think. Nothing made sense. Every bit of research I did. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video because today's story is really interesting. Now, this story is revolved around Gypsy Rose and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. And to give you an overview of this story, Gypsy Rose was supposedly a child who was incredibly ill with multiple illnesses. She had a support group and was receiving a lot of care from the community because she was so ill. And it came out that she was not ill and she had murdered her mother. Well, she had a boyfriend murder her mother. So, big plot twist. Let's get into what happened. According to Gypsy's father, when she was very young, at the age of 3 months, her mother, Dee Dee, said that she had sleep apnea and that she would need a breathing machine. As time continued, she had more illnesses, and her father was very concerned, like, whoa, she's a very sick child. Her mother and father had already divorced at this time, and the mother kind of moved a little bit further away from the father, and she was reporting how sick she was, that she had leukemia, she had epilepsy, she had muscular dystrophy, she had all of these problems. She needed a feeding tube. Just the list of symptoms that he was being told from her was just really crazy. She was a very, very sick child. She started to receive help and via donations, the community, the Ronald McDonald House, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Disneyland trips. There was just multiple, there's videos upon videos of them receiving awards, of them attending events, of them being recognized because this little girl was so sick. At the age of 5, she became wheelchair bound, and she was very, very ill, and everyone was very supportive of them and really trying to take care of them. So I want to make sure that we get this clear because this was years and years, 15 years of people thinking this little girl was so ill that she couldn't walk. She had surgery after surgery. Between 2005 and 2014, she had over 100 hospital visitations. She had hearing problems, vision problems, stomach lining problems, just on and on and on. And what had happened is that her mother, when she was going in to the doctors, was explaining to the doctors that because they were victims of the hurricane, that she didn't have her medical records anymore. She didn't even have her birth certificate. Gypsy didn't even know how old she was. Okay, when she was arrested, she said she was 19. She was actually 23. Her father even reported on her 18th birthday when he called to wish her a happy 18th birthday that Dee Dee got on the phone, was like, no, don't tell her how old she is. And he's like, what do you mean? She knows how old she is. She's like, no, remember, like, she's really young for her age. She doesn't know. She's really immature, so don't tell her she's 18. So by all accounts, she was this really sick girl. Now, there is a report from a doctor. I believe the doctor's name is Dr. Flasterstein, and in 2007, he's a neurologist. And when he saw Gypsy, he noticed that her legs actually had more muscle than they should. After 9 years of being completely wheelchair bound, paralyzed from the waist down, you actually should lose pretty much all of your muscles in your legs, but her legs, he said, actually seemed normal, and that he felt that she could even hold her own weight on her legs, and her MRIs came back insignificant, which means he didn't find anything wrong in them. He actually made a note in big bold lettering and underline that said, "Mother is not a good historian." So he saw some issues with what the mothers was reporting, and in his next report he said that he reached out to a practitioner that had seen Gypsy before, who noted that a neurologist that he had spoke to said that she did not have muscular dystrophy and that her MRI was also fine. So this doctor noticed that like something didn't seem wrong and right, and he thought that she had Munchausen by proxy. I think everyone knows what Munchausen is by now. Munchausen syndrome is where you will either fake or exaggerate your symptoms for attention. Munchausen by proxy is typically when you are a parent and you do this to your child for attention. And this is apparently exactly what was going on because Gypsy Rose was never sick. She became sick and had symptoms of being sick as a result of all the medication she was on. She was on seizure medication. She was on medication to help her sleep. She was on anxiety medication. She was on medication to help her go to the bathroom. Like literally every kind of medication you can be on was really affecting this child. Now at one point, Gypsy actually attempted to run away. She was starting to get a little older and she was starting to get onto the computer when her mother was asleep. She actually tried to run away to Arkansas to a sci-fi convention, and her mother actually found her within 4 hours and drug her back home. Her mother handcuffed her to the bed with a leash and punished her and made it clear to her that you can't do this, you cannot leave, you have to stay here with me, and if you leave, you're going to get in trouble. At this point, her mother had her deemed incompetent, so she had basically guardianship over her, and Gypsy felt that she couldn't tell anyone or tell the police or anybody because who would believe her? She was incompetent, she was immature, she had all these medical issues, she really didn't know what to do. The only thing that Gypsy knew is that she could walk, and she didn't understand why her mother wasn't letting her walk. Also, at some point, somebody called in an anonymous tip to the police that worried that Gypsy was being abused or something was wrong. The police came out. Dee Dee talked to the police, showed them all of her medical records, showed them some paper, and had them talk to Gypsy, and they went on their way. So Gypsy definitely felt her doctors weren't doing anything, the police weren't doing anything. She was kind of trapped. One of the things to note is that Dee Dee went above and beyond to make sure that Gypsy didn't know that she wasn't actually ill. When she would see the doctors even made a note that she would cover Gypsy's ears. And she said that it was because she had this mental retardation and because she was immature, she didn't really want to upset her with all the knowledge of what was wrong with her. So she didn't really want Gypsy to hear what was being said. So Gypsy didn't even know what was being told to the doctors. So at some point, Gypsy met a boy by the name of Nicholas Goodjohn, and I'm probably saying that wrong, so we're just gonna stick with Nicholas. She met him on a Christian dating site, and what was happening is she was getting onto the computer at night when her mom was asleep. Now, she didn't have her own computer and cell phone because her mother actually destroyed it after the prior incident with a hammer and told her she would hit her if she would continue to do something like that again. So she was secretly sneaking onto the computer and she starts communicating with Nicholas. Now, it's important to know that Nicholas was actually autistic and had Asperger's. And if you're not familiar with that, I have a little bit of experience in a family member. There's something about it that gets really addicted and obsessed with things. So Nicholas's mother said that he was obsessed with Gypsy, that he was all about her and he was really intense in this relationship with her. So you have Nicholas, who has autism and Asperger's, and you have Gypsy, who is incredibly immature for her age. She was even being raised on Disney movies. The last grade she attended in school was 2nd grade, so she's very immature. She was very obsessed with the movie Tangled, which is about the story of Rapunzel, about a girl who's locked up in a tower away from the rest of the world by an evil mother, and at the end of the movie, they kill the mother, and Rapunzel gets to live happily ever after with her knight in shining armor. So you have Gypsy and Nicholas, and they're communicating online, and they start having this very intense sexual relationship, and they're both trying to figure out their sexualities, and they're both very immature and unexperienced. So they started talking about BDSM, and this was like the part of BDSM. I'm not going to explain BDSM on my channel, but basically kind of dominant and submissive, and he would kind of tell her what to do, and she got really into kind of role playing, so she would dress up in characters for him, and these pictures they're just like not what you expected, because you see these pictures of this like really ill childlike kid in a wheelchair, and then you see her putting on rainbow wigs and costumes and bikinis and dressing up for him. So obviously their connection got really, really close, and they started coming up with ways that they could be together. They wanted to move to somewhere else. They thought about all kinds of things. But in the back of their mind, they always had this kind of plan B, that if that didn't work, they would have to get rid of her mother. Now, at some point, they actually tried to meet, and the plan is that they would accidentally meet each other at a movie, and then maybe Gypsy's mother would like him so much that she would let Nicholas hang out with Gypsy. But they're both so immature that they didn't really think about it. What they did was Gypsy was going to see Cinderella at the movie theater with her mother. They were the only ones there. This is not a busy movie, and it's a kids movie. And the plan is to have Nicholas just be there watching the movie too, and they would just meet each other, and it would be like this random occurrence, and they would become friends and start hanging out. But obviously Gypsy's mom was like, why is this dude at a kid movie by himself? That's weird. You can't talk to him. Nicholas reported that Gypsy actually took him into the men's restroom, and they had sex together on that occasion. And then Gypsy's mom was not okay with them being friends, and that was the end of that. So at this point, they were stuck with moving forward with plan B, and the messages are that she says, okay, I'm ready, let's do it. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that for you. She says, you know, basically bought him a bus ticket to her home, and he came in through the back door. She gave him gloves, duct tape, and a knife. She then went into the bathroom and plugged her ears and listened to him wake her mother and brutally stab her to death. She even listened to her mother scream for help and call her name. Okay, guys, I apologize. I had to come back in and add this. The reason that police were actually notified to go to Gypsy and Dee Dee's home is that on the night of the murder, there was a Facebook post that appeared on Dee Dee and Gypsy's shared Facebook, and it simply said, "That bitch is dead." And of course, friends and family and all of their supporters that followed their Facebook were very concerned. They thought it had been hacked. Somebody even said, "Are you watching a movie?" And there was a comment that was then left back that said, "I effing slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so effing loud, LOL." So police actually went to the home. Friends and family were already there. They were knocking on the door. Nobody was answering, but the car that Gypsy's always transported in was there. So of course they were very worried. Police got a search warrant. They went into the home. That's when they discovered Dee Dee was there and she had been brutally stabbed. And the initial concern, of course, was that something was wrong with Gypsy. She was missing. They were very concerned where she was. Police used that initial Facebook post to track the person who had wrote the post, and it came back that it was the Nicholas Goodjohn. And what they found out through the investigation is actually Gypsy was the one who wrote those messages on the Facebook. Now, when the police interviewed, they were asking very pointedly at Nicholas, "Did you rape Dee Dee?" He's like, "No, I did not." And like, "Did you touch her? Did you do anything?" Because there were a lot of messages that alluded to him raping her mother. And Gypsy said that she said, "No, I don't want you to rape my mother. I'll let you rape me instead." And she says that afterwards, Nicholas did rape her. And she considered it to be rape because while she was encouraging it and she knew that he was going to be rough and he was going to bite her, that he got really physical and left, a lot of bruises on her, and that she screamed for him to stop. But they cleaned up all of their mess, cleaned up all of their fingerprints, and they got a taxi and they left and they went to a hotel. There's video of them in the hotel the next day laughing and talking and being very sexual and just enjoying their day. They then went on to a Greyhound bus and went to his mother's home. That is where the knife that they had used in the murder was actually mailed to their house. They mailed it. They took the knife and they put it in an envelope and mailed it to his mother's house. It was actually found there still in the envelope. So here's what is important to know before we talk about how this case was resolved. Nicholas is just a very immature, troubled kid who has autism and Asperger's, and it made him very obsessed with Gypsy and very willing to do things for her. You can tell in the interview that he's just very upfront. He says, "Yes, I did this and this is why I did it." He will be spending his life in prison. It's very unfortunate, but he walked into a home and brutally murdered someone that he shouldn't have done that. Gypsy, again, a very immature young girl who was brutalized by her mother. In all honesty, she was. She was trapped. She did not have a real sense of reality. But at the end of the day, murder is not justified. And while she might have felt that she had no one, she didn't try. She should have told police. She should have told her doctor. And she should have just told her father. He would have been there to help her. And making the choice to go to murder, absolutely not acceptable. Now, the state of Missouri did decide to give her a plea deal. They gave her 10 years. She will have to serve a minimum of 8.5, so she will be eligible for parole in 2024 at the age of 32. I think that makes sense to me. She has to serve time for what she did. This wasn't okay, but I think after everything she went through, she was even asked, "Is being in prison better than 10 more years living how you were?" And she said, yeah, she'd rather be in prison for 10 years than to live 10 years with her mother. Dee Dee. I'm very much always been one, I don't like to speak ill of the dead. I mean, honestly, she's still a murder victim. But even her own parents are not supportive of her, and they even made the comment that you could just flush her ashes down the toilet. Dee Dee was known for being just a horrible person. She supposedly stole money, stole credit cards, she stole checks, she charges after charges for this. Her family believes that she had something to do with her mother's death. At the end of her life, they believe that she starved her. The stepmother claims that Dee Dee was poisoning her food with Roundup, which is like weed killer, and that she ended up in bed ill for 9 months as a result. It just seems that she was a very, very dark, manipulative person, and what she was doing to Gypsy was not okay. And she was making this little girl's life a nightmare in order to satisfy some sort of attention that she needed. And that's not okay. So this is really scary because in this day and age, there's so many support groups and so many GoFundMe accounts. And I hate that stories like this are making people like us who want to give kind of cynical. Like, you just don't believe it always. You always kind of go like, are you really that sick? And I don't like that. I think it's a really sad world when somebody, lies so much and pretends there's something wrong with their child when there's not. It's not okay. So that's my video for you guys. It's kind of high overview. I'm going to make sure I link down some of the longer videos if you really want to delve into this case and really get a little more of a timeline and watch some of the videos of the interviews. I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you so much for watching my videos. I always make mistakes. I always end up editing out something that I said, and then somebody's like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, I said that, and then I go back and I'm like, no, you didn't. You cut it out. And I'm always going to make some sort of weird mistake. I always say a date wrong or something. Just make sure you guys leave it down below, and then I'll make sure to update the description box with anything I've, an error or something to add. And y'all, thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a great day.